MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell became the latest defendant in a string of lawsuits filed by the voting machine companies Dominion and Smartmatic against various defendants, including Trump's attorneys Cindy Powell, Rudy Giuliani, Fox News, and its anchors. All of the complaints allege defamation, that these defendants made statements alleging that these voting machine companies manipulated votes in favor of Trump's opponents. Now, the complaint lays out in detail many statements by these defendants. The reason why that's important is because one of the defenses of defamation is that the statement is an opinion and not a fact. But the complaints make a very strong case that these statements were, in fact, factual. Now, a second possible defense will be truth. The plaintiffs will welcome this defense because what they want to achieve in this lawsuit is a vindication of their reputation. And if they win the lawsuit, it might be their best victory because the damages that they allege in this case are mostly speculative, and courts do not like to award potential profits. So even if successful, the amount of damages they will receive will be most likely much less than what they are alleging. Now, a third possible defense will be the fact that these voting machine companies should be treated as public figures under the standard of New York Times versus Sullivan because they were involved in something as important as a federal election. If the court decides to treat them as public figures, then the plaintiffs will have to allege malice, which means that these defendants would only have to show that their statements had a reasonable basis. But why do we know it will indeed be hard for them to show this? Because of the many lawsuits already filed in relation to the fraud surrounding this election. And judge after judge found that the sources cited by Trump and his attorneys were wholly unreliable. So it is likely that a judge here will find these same sources unreliable and not a good, reasonable basis to be relied upon. Is it possible that the defense will show good, stronger evidence that they relied upon in making these statements? Well, sure. But it's unlikely because why would they have held back their best evidence from these prior lawsuits or their best evidence when making their public statements? Because they were in fact trying to prove fraud. So most likely, if no stronger evidence develops, the plaintiffs here will be successful in this lawsuit.